and welcome back to Wrestling Wednesdays. The guest this week is the former head writer of WWE, former head writer of WCW and TNA, and the former WCW heavyweight champion of the world.
Yes.
The guy that won the real version of that, which is sitting behind me right now, the bro himself, Vince Russo. Welcome, Vince. How are you doing?
What is up, Martin? I'm glad to be here with you this morning, my friend.
It's a real pleasure. I'm just going to amend the view for everyone because it's there we go. Now we got it. Okay, yeah. So how was obviously it's early morning for yourself and afternoon for me. What's a morning routine with Vince? Is it a rather than a brew? Is it a bro? What's your morning?
It's a bro and a brew. Well, it's not a brew. It's I gotta have my coffee to get me started. I love coffee. I think it's the nectar of the gods. But a typical day for me, man, is I try to start my day early. I try to get all my work done early in the day so I can have a little free time in the middle of the day. So that's why you and I are starting this morning bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. It's 8 a.m. by me, and I'm ready to go, man.
It's great. That's brilliant. And so could you talk a little bit about, talk us through a bit more what you're doing with Russo Brand? Obviously, it's been growing over the last 7 years. So many people involved with your organization there in terms of wrestlers that I'm a fan of as well. But I noticed obviously you're developing it, building a new site, I believe. So could you give us a bit more insight into how that's
Yeah,
going?
I've been doing russosbrand.com for about 7 years now, and so many great talents are under my umbrella. So many, people who had great careers in the wrestling business. I always forget people, but I'll try to name some of them. I've got the beautiful people, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. I got Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat. I've got Stevie Richards, the Disco Inferno, Shane Douglas. God, I always forget. Dutch Mantell, Kevin Sullivan, Tom Pritchard, Vito LaGras. I have so many names under my umbrella. ODB, Taylor Hendricks, the list goes on. And they all have their own shows, which is great for me. And I'm just now branching out beyond wrestling. Like you said, man, we are in the middle right now of building up a brand new site that should be up. I'm hoping early next week. So russosbrand.com is primarily wrestling, but now I'm going to go branch beyond that with non-wrestling shows.
Okay, sounds really exciting. I'll delve into obviously other passions because I know that obviously you see the memorabilia behind you all the time, sport and film. So it'd be great.
Yeah, I'm not. Martin, I hate to say this, but I have not been a wrestling fan for a really long time. I mean, I really haven't. The industry is not what I grew up on, what I was a fan of, what got me hooked, what I wrote. It's just a completely different industry today. And, bro, some people love it and that's great. I'm really just not a fan of it anymore. So like, I only watch Raw, bro, because quite honestly, I get paid to watch Raw. That's the only reason I watch it. I don't watch any other show. So yeah, man, I have so many interests that I want to move beyond. So that's why I'm excited about the new network.
Cool, can't wait to hear more about it. So obviously see it all develop, and I shall certainly be following it. I previously watched a few of your interviews online and heard you talk a bit about the days of you growing up and seeing wrestling in Madison Square Gardens, which is something I've still not ticked off the bucket list. I'd love to just sort of, hear a little bit about what that experience was like as a kid growing up and being there.
Yeah, well, bro, a couple of things. Obviously it was a big deal when cable television first came out. I'm talking about the inception of cable. Like, man, bro, I'm talking about probably 73, 74-ish, every once a month on a Monday night, Madison Square Garden would have their big card on cable. And, Bruno Sammartino would always defend the title every Monday night, once a month on a Monday. And that was such a big deal, man. The WWF from the Garden was such a big deal. Bro, I swear to God, I got to tell you, this is how wrestling used to be. The last time, bro, I was in the Garden for a wrestling event. Well, it wasn't the last time. This was when I was a fan, because I worked WrestleMania 10 and stuff like that. But bro, when I was still a fan, I'll never forget, I went to Madison Square Garden the very first time Savage wrestled Hogan. And bro, I am telling you, the rafters were shaking for a wrestling event. It was nuts. It was ridiculous. I will never forget that experience at MSG. It was a great experience. And then, of course, bro, one of my my very first WrestleMania working with the company was WrestleMania 10. You know, so I got to work that at Madison Square Garden. But yeah, you know what, bro? I wouldn't compare wrestling at the Garden today to what it was like back then, but it's still a tradition. It's still a big deal. So I could definitely understand that being on your bucket list, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's that historical moment of knowing that you're in that same venue of all this went down, and
Yes.
just
Yep.
you know, you're there, so it's still a nice moment.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of a lot of New York filmmakers, and obviously whenever I've studied anything, we've always looked back on filmmakers from that area. Have you got any sort of influences on you, apart from obviously you're the fan of wrestling and the entertainment side of it? What else had a sort of influence on you to push you into journalism?
Bro, I grew up on entertainment, man. I grew up on TV and I grew up on movies. You know, early on, I took a liking for writing, bro. I can remember like in the 6th grade, you know, I mean, I started writing some stuff, and you know, when a teacher put it over very early on, that meant a lot to me, like as a 12-year-old kid, you know. And you know, it was just always my passion, bro. And that's why you know, I mean, at the end of the day, my career, I married all that stuff. That's why, bro, it's hard for people to separate. Like, I think I get a lot of heat, bro, because I wasn't one of these wrestling marks. Like, I enjoyed wrestling like I enjoyed movies, and like I enjoyed television, and like I enjoyed sports. It was one of many things that I enjoyed. So, bro, it's when I started working in the industry, to be honest with you, it was a job to me. This wasn't the dream job. I didn't dream. No, bro, this was a job for me. I started with the magazine. Then, you know, I transitioned you know, from writing the magazine to writing the television show. So like, it was always just a job for me. And I don't think people can like understand that, you know, I wasn't obsessed by this. This wasn't a boyhood dream of mine. This was kind of just how my career went along. So, you know, when I was writing there during the Attitude Era, bro, it was a great gig. It was a lot of fun. But, bro, at the end of the day, to me, it was just a job, just like this is my job now.
That's cool. It's fair enough. So it's great when people are honest about things, though, and you still obviously were a fan in general, but you know, at the end of the day, it's you know, it's work and it's got to pay the bills somehow, and you might as well be passionate about what you're doing. So it's great. And the one thing I always remember is I started buying wrestling magazines in the mid-90s as a kid going into a teenager, and I always remember, even like it was Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and I was getting WWF magazine, and then obviously when Raw magazine started coming out, they were always quite well behind in terms of like what I was watching on TV, and this was before using the internet loads and all the rest of it. So I remember quite a big change in distinction in terms of when you were there, of how it suddenly became a bit more like relevant with the storylines. It was a bit closer, and it was like as close as you could be because you couldn't spoil things. And that was just something I noticed as a kid growing up, and it made it like a must buy every month. I assume that was a lot of your influence, and
oh yeah, 100%. I mean, bro, when I got there writing for the magazine, bro, they were making up the stories. Like, they were never talking to talent. They were not involving talent. They were just making stuff up. And I'm like, why? Like, you have the talent at your fingertips, involve them, get them involved. And that's why, you know, yeah, bro, the idea was to really create a more adult themed shoot type of magazine. And yeah, I mean, Raw, you know, Raw the magazine, bro, was, you know, kind of before the Attitude Era, but I think it was kind of a preview of what you were going to eventually see on TV.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it definitely influenced me loads because I was a big Shawn Michaels fan. That's what, and Bret Hart fan. And that's kind of that 95, 96, and then the magazine's improving. And it was like, instead of comic books, it was like, I've got to read this every month, and it's great. And
Bro,
it's
I
like,
swear to God, I got a great story about that, because if you remember, one of the covers of the Raw magazine was Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, like, could they exist in the same universe or something like this, right? So, bro, I always used to get the talent, whoever was on the cover, I got him to sign the magazine cover for me, you know, and I always did that. So I'll never forget that cover was, can Shawn and Bret exist in the same universe? And I'll never forget it. When Bret signed that magazine for me, he signed, I guess we couldn't, you know, which popped me, and I still always pop for.
that's amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. That's the thing I love about when you get those personal relationships. That's brilliant. That's individual. I love that. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's done me. I wanted to sort of delve in a little bit to start with. Obviously, with obviously the work you do now, you're very interactive. How is sort of the documentary I made a couple of years ago was about this in a bit more detail. But how has fan interaction changed for you since obviously you've left wrestling? You now do your podcast and the rest of it. How, obviously you get questions asked all the time about wrestling and stuff, but how has that fan interaction changed for you over the years?
Well, bro, what I do now, it's very, very, very important to interact with the fans. And, bro, it's like you've got a section of fans that get it. And then you just got this section of fans, bro, that they're going to believe what they want to believe. I am probably one of the most honest guys you will ever meet. I'm Italian, and that's kind of how Italians are. We're out there. We're honest. We wear our emotions on our sleeve. I don't lie about things. I don't cover things up. And, I make myself very accessible. You could ask me anything you want to ask me, but the frustrating part comes when, you tell the truth and you say the same story for years and years and years and years. But bro, you're going to have that section of the audience that just wants to believe what they want to believe. And those people, bro, I'll be honest with you, they kind of get to me, because it's like you're asking me something and I'm telling you the truth. But why are you going to waste my time if you want to believe what you want to believe anyway? Sometimes it gets very, very frustrating. But like I said, bro, there's an entire audience out there that gets it and understands what I did and my body of work. And, they're always great to talk to.
That's cool. It's fair enough. Yeah, totally understand that. I was quite curious. I think I heard you say in an interview that you didn't really travel much outside of America when you were with WWE, but I've always been fascinated by how important the UK events might have been, not the tour ones, but when WWE started doing the pay-per-views in the UK. So like One Night Only, Capital Carnage, that kind of thing. Were they ever planned as part of the full-time writing, or were they just sort of more put together nearer the time?
Yeah, they weren't really planned, bro, as part of the full-time writing, because, bro, the only place I ever traveled outside of the U.S. when I was working for them was Canada. I went to the U.S. and Canada. That's it. But, bro, UK was very, very, very important, because every time business was down in the States, they would go right to the UK. And and they would draw phenomenal houses and do really, really large gates. So that was always what they did when business was down in the States, bro. Let's tour the UK. And, bro, the people in the UK and the fans of the UK never let them down, man.
No, we love it. I think it's that quick fix of we don't get it all year round, so therefore we just want to see it no matter what, and it's a great show. But I was quite curious about talking to you about maybe the British Bulldog, because one of the events in the UK that I went to, I was quite young in '97, was One Night Only, when Shawn beat Bulldog for the European title. I didn't know if you got any sort of insight on what it was like working with the Davey Boy Smith.
Oh God, yeah, bro. What great dude, bro. I swear the one thing I'll always remember about Davey Boy was, bro, he always had a great sense of humor. Bro, like, bro, I always look at it like when you're that big of a star, it's almost like you deserve the right to have a chip on your shoulder. but never, never, ever, ever with him. Never had a chip on his shoulder, bro. You know, always, you know, very funny, bro. Very, very funny. Hung around a lot with Owen. So they were always very mischievous and always up to no good. But brother, one thing I always used to remember about him that used to drive me nuts was, you know, bro, when you're shooting like live TV and whatnot, you've got to set up these shots right away. If there's a live interview in the back, I mean, you know, it's go, 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 go. Bro, Davey could have like 4 or 5 pre-tapes or interviews in the back or little vignettes or whatever. And bro, every time before he shot one, he had to oil up. And it used to drive me nuts because I'm like, bro, you only have to oil up one time. The oil is still there. But I swear to God, bro, I would shoot with him. He'd be all oiled up. Bro, 5 minutes later, okay, Davey, we got to go over here now. 5 minutes later, he'd be oiling up again. Every single time he was on camera, he had to oil up, and it used to drive me freaking nuts. But what a great guy, bro. I got a great story that I love. WrestleMania 10, bro. I was at, you know, I was working there at the Fan Fest, you know, prior to WrestleMania 10. And bro, part of my job was I had to babysit Harry and Georgia. I babysat them at WrestleMania 10. I'll never forget it, bro. And now I look at, you know, Harry, and he's this big, huge star. But yeah, bro, I literally babysat him as a kid at WrestleMania 10.
That's incredible. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that sort of stuff. That's
great family though, bro. Diana was, oh my God, what a saint of a woman. I interviewed her just a couple of years ago. Like, we still talk. Great family, bro.
Yeah. Well, we obviously over here we're biased anyway, but yeah, amazing. Just incredible. And the storylines in the 90s involving, you know, the Bulldog were brilliant. And it kind of, you know, as much as obviously Hogan and the rest and the worldwide audience and everything, Bulldog put WWF on the map over here massively.
Oh, no doubt, bro. Especially that Wimbledon match with Bret. Like, come on, man. Like, it doesn't get better than that.
No. Yeah. I'm still a little bit hopeful that next year, with it being an anniversary, they might do something over here. But yeah, we live in hope. Well, I do anyway. I know you're not watching it, but I live in hope.
Yeah.
But that's great. Thank you. I was quite curious in terms of your TNA days. I don't know if you did, but did you have any crossovers in TNA with working with Doug Williams and Nick Aldis? Or
bro, absolutely, bro. I've said this all the time, bro. Doug Williams was like one of my favorite people to work with, and he knows, he's heard me say that a million times, bro. Doug Williams was like the ultimate professional. Bro, I love this, bro. I'm being perfectly honest with you. Like, if somebody said, Vince, if you could ever start a promotion like with anybody from the past and the present, bro, he would be in my top 5, because he was so dependable and such a pro. I loved working with that guy. And bro, Nick, at the beginning, there was a little of this, because bro, Nick is a very cocky guy, and he carries himself that way. But bro, once you get to know him and you understand him, bro, to this day, him and I, you know, he's one of my better friends in the wrestling business to this day. Yeah, bro, I work with Nick and Doug a lot, and I loved working with both those guys, bro. I can't say enough good things about those guys.
That's amazing. I love it. So I'm pretty British biased, basically, as you can tell. It's just good to get some insight.
Oh no, bro, I loved it. I mean, like I said, man, I would God, great, just professionals, bro. Just really real. I mean, man, I don't think there's any wrestler out there right now who takes more pride in what they do than Nick Aldis. I really don't, bro. You're talking about a guy that every single thing he does, he takes absolute pride in, man. He's both of those guys I can't say enough about.
Oh, that's cool. Well, Doug's,
and bro, I'll even tell you, the one time I did go to the UK, I got to go there twice after I left the WWE. I got to go there a couple of times. And bro, like the first time I went there, Man, I'm going back about, shoot, I'm going back about 7 years now, because I remember like I just first started the podcast and stuff. Bro, that was the first time I ever saw Will Ospreay. And this is like 7 years ago. So it was before he really started establishing a name for himself in the States. But I remember seeing him there for the first time, and I was absolutely blown away by Will Ospreay when I first saw him work the first time there. I loved a lot of those guys, bro. I mean, I really enjoyed the wrestling shows and the fans when I got to work over there in the UK. I really did. Bro, if I didn't hate to travel, I would go there all the time, because it was really, really a great experience for me.
Okay, we'll start it. We'll get the motivation going. We'll kidnap you and bring you over for a weekend at some point, and
yeah, no,
he,
this is what I say. I've been to the UK twice, and this is what I've said, bro. When I'm there, I freaking love it. I love everything about it, bro. I swear to God, when I was there, I literally, I got like a lot of tattoos and shit. I almost got a UK flag tattooed, but I ran out of time. That's how much I love the place. But I always say this, when I get there, I freaking love it. I love everything about it, but it's the getting there. It's the plane, like it's the getting there that I can't make it through, bro.
Totally understand. Yeah, I feel the same way. I've only been to New York very briefly once, and yeah, it's the flights, isn't it? It's just
that's exactly it.
Yeah,
yes.
No, yeah. You never know. Future technology, you never know. Might get something a bit better down the line.
I was set to go there a third time, bro, to do a show for Nick Aldis. I was going to do a show for him. And unfortunately, like right about that time, my mother, passed away, and I literally, bro, I live in Colorado, so I had to fly from Colorado to New York, and then from New York to the UK. I had flown from Colorado to New York. When I got in New York, I called my dad, and my mom wasn't doing too well, and I had to cancel from New York to but I almost went back there a third time. You know what, bro? I'll probably wind up going back there again, because I would love to go there with my wife. You know what I mean? Because I love it. I loved everything about the UK, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Sorry to hear that story, obviously, but yeah, great. And I think you'd get quite a bit of freedom over here as well. So you'll get plenty of love, I'm sure. It'd be good to have you back over here. One of my favorite ever sort of entertainment comedy sketches in Raw's history was the "This Is Your Life" Rock and Mankind during the Rock and Sock stuff, and I wanted to bug your brain a little bit about what was that like to create and work on.
Yeah, it was awesome, bro. And that's the thing, man. When you're working with talents of this magnitude, all you really need to do is like set it up. You know what I mean? Like, bro, we had to have the clown there, and you have to have the pieces for them to play with. So as you're writing out the scene and you're writing out that segment, you got to set the table for them so they have things to play with. Once all that is set up, bro, you just let those guys go out and do their thing, man. And when you got two guys that great that can ad lib as well as they could, plus the chemistry they had together, you're just going to get an unbelievable a segment like that. Bro, it wasn't like today where you're scripting every word. I'm not going to script anything for Mick and Rock. I'm going to say, these are the pieces. This is when we're going to send them out. These are, just some, notes of what you need to hit and shit. But that's just them ad-libbing and being in the moment, man.
That's cool. I was always curious about how it all sort of worked for in those days, in terms of a talent obviously was being developed, whoever it might be. At what stage does it come into your conversation and piece in terms of the storyline that we're bringing this person in, and we're going to build this character, and then you've got to think about the story, or was there preconceived notions?
Nah, bro, not at all. It would basically start with them telling me, so and so is ready. Like, so if it was a new talent like a Val Venus or an Edge, so and so is ready. At that point, bro, I've got to sit down and I've got to really get into their head and really find out who they are and what makes them tick. And that's where the character is developed, bro. So it's just a matter of, you had guys training. And then when they were ready to go, like Jim Ross would say, Sean Morley's ready to go. And then at that point, I've got to sit down with them and we've got to create the right character for that person. And then, we bring them over to Raw.
Okay, cool. And Jim Johnston obviously did a lot of the music in those days. Would the character then as a brief come to you and you go to Jim, or would it be you and Jim at the same time, or how did that?
No, it would be Jim. Bro, Jim and I really never, ever, ever worked together. I would create this character, Jim would see this character, and Jim would create magic. I mean, absolute magic. But bro, there was never one time where I sat down with Jim Johnston and never explained the character to him. Never. He would just see the character visually and, go to work. And I mean, God, bro, he recently did a theme song for me. The Attitude Era would not have been the same without his soundtrack, bro. Absolutely not. No way.
No, absolute legends. And obviously, like say yourself and Jim and everyone involved, that's the memories we've got. And
Yep.
I know that you're not watching wrestling now, but it's great to talk about those memories
Yep.
and moments and stuff like that as I grew up with. So as a huge appreciation for all the work you did. What was it sort of it like in terms of those days and sort of a day to day? Because we kind of as fans looking at it thinking, we think, oh, it was all about the ratings and it's all about this, and then there's a meeting and then things change and so on. Were days when you're doing like a TV recording, was it quite hectic or is it just full on? How did it sort of unravel?
Bro, that's the thing. When me and Ed Ferrara were writing, and there was a period when I was just writing by myself, bro, nothing changed. Like that show was done, I's dotted, T's crossed by Friday. And by Friday, you're sending it out to the key talent over the weekend so they're getting the show. When you got there on Monday, bro, that's the show. Like by the time we got there on Monday, we knew the show inside out. No, it wasn't like today. Nothing changed. So it was never, bro, it was not chaotic. I mean, everybody was always well prepared. Of course, bro, you're always going to have that element of live, so anything can happen live. But bro, back then the level of preparation and everybody knowing what they were doing and understanding the story, bro, it was really, really a well-oiled machine. That's why, like, I left in 1999 and I almost went back in 2021. And I mean 2002, I almost went back. And I'll never forget, bro, from 99 to 2002, the entire structure had changed. And I remember walking into the new structure and I'm like, what is this? And Vince said to me, oh, Vince, you got to understand now we're a publicly owned company, this and that. I said, yeah, Vince, I understand all that, but this is not working. Like the way you have this set up, because back then, bro, they were going to, the 20 writers and these guys do SmackDown and these guys. And I was like, this obviously is not working. And bro, over the last 20 years, that's gone from bad to worse. It used to be so simple, bro. Ed Ferrara and myself were the head writers. We worked directly with Vince. The two of us produced all the talent, everything you saw on TV, and that was it. They have made it so confusing and so convoluted over the years, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing on Monday nights.
Yeah, okay, makes total sense. How much fun was it though in those in sort of when you were building that Attitude Era, and obviously didn't know it was going to be called the Attitude Era at the time until obviously it gets created. When you started feeling that way in like 96 into 97 and then it grew and grew and grew, how much fun, I know it was just technically just a job, but how much fun was it for you having so many people to work on and loads of different random stories to come up with?
Yeah, bro, I hate to tell you this, it was never fun. And I'll tell you why, bro. I'll be honest with you. It was never fun. Bro, we were doing so well that every week we had to top the previous week. Like this week's show had to be better than last week's show. And we had raised the bar so high that there was always such a tremendous amount of pressure on us to make this week's show better. And bro, we were so focused on the shows and just making these the absolute best that they could be that it was like, like I hate to say it, but like there wasn't time for fun. Now, don't get me wrong, bro. I loved working with all these characters. It was absolutely great and a blessing. And I learned so much. And I look back now and I was so lucky to work with these people. But man, it was like it was never fun because we just had to keep upping our game and upping our game and upping our game, and a lot of pressure kind of went with that.
Okay, yeah, I understand. David Arquette, the WCW days, you winning the title, what was that like?
Well, bro, see that's the thing again. That's what I mean to you. That's what I mean when I tell you about, you know, what people make out of things. Bro, when you're writing 2 shows a week and a pay-per-view, okay, so what is that? 52, 104, 116 shows a year. You're writing 116 shows a year. Bro, unless you open up new avenues where something happens that wasn't supposed to happen, unless you have new avenues you can go down, bro, you're just going to keep regurgitating the same thing over and over and over and over. And I think that's what's happening today. When a Hollywood actor wins a title on a fluke and like that wasn't supposed to happen, when Vince Russo like almost gets killed being driven through a cage and technically winning a belt, bro, what that does is that opens up other avenues. So you're writing a television show. You want to give them something different. Everything you watch now, bro, everything you watch on Raw and AEW, it's about 2 guys fighting each other. That's all it's about, bro. 2 guys wrestling each other. Bro, we wanted to create, you know, good television, exciting television, must-see TV, things you never saw before. So when you would create moments like that, bro, all of a sudden it opens up the creative envelope to write things that are out of the traditional wrestling. And I think we did that really well. Bro, people that don't understand television will never understand that. The success of the Attitude Era, bro, was that we got the masses to watch. You didn't have to be a wrestling fan to watch these shows. And it's because we did stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it reached into every market, didn't it? You obviously you had so many different types of characters that were relevant to different age groups and demographics and backgrounds, and everyone had their favorite. Obviously, everyone loved Austin and The Rock, and you know what DX and stuff. But you'd be excited about a certain character in almost every match, and that was why you know it just huge influence and you know grabbed my attention, and I've never really grown out of it ever since. So at some point I need to grow up at some point, but not yet.
right.
Yeah.
It's good not to grow up, bro. I still enjoy so many things I did when I was younger, bro. It's okay to relive that stuff. I recently just started a show on New Network where I review the Batman 66 shows. I'm still a huge fan of that, bro. And I still love going back and watching those shows. So yeah, it's great, man, to remember the good times.
Well, that's another thing I was going to ask you about in terms of, you know, things you like. Obviously, you got the big Rocky poster in the background there. I've noticed on the call. If you could have not done wrestling, I know it's a bit of almost fantasy booking for yourself here. If you could have got into, say, script writing in terms of filmmaking and so on as a full-time role, because obviously the characters you come up with, are there any films you look at and think, oh, I'd love to have been part of that, or I could have done this story, or
Yeah, bro, I definitely, that was my plan, bro. What happened was I went away to college, and that was my plan, bro. My plan was to, to put myself right smack in the middle of LA, Hollywood, and hustle and make something happen. That's what I would have done. Unfortunately, bro, in college, I met my wife and I got married at 22 years old. So like I had to change plans a little bit because it wasn't just me now, it was me and her, you know what I mean? But that, yeah, bro, without a shadow of a doubt, that's what I would have done. Without a question, I would have been working on movies and TV. That was certainly my passion. That's why, bro, the WWE, like, it just happened. It's not something I dreamed about or was working towards. It just kind of organically happened because, I mean, it was supposed to happen, and that's why it happened. But yeah, bro, if it were up to me, I would have been doing movies, TV. Absolutely.
That's cool. And in terms of recently, obviously did the Dark Side of the Ring documentary. Have you ever thought about going into doing like your own, and obviously because you've got your own content with the podcast and all the rest of it, is that ever something you'd ever consider going down to talk about your career a bit more, or other people's careers?
No, I hate talking about my career, but I'll tell you what I do want to do, bro. A pet project of mine that I always wanted to do, and I still hope to do it someday. Bro, I want to do a wrestling documentary about the wrestling marks, because I am so mesmerized by these people. I've yet to figure them out. I don't understand them. But bro, you know how there's like documentaries about Trekkies and stuff like that? That I definitely want to do that. That is on the top of my list, doing a documentary, interviewing these dirt sheet writers, interviewing these AEW fans, and really trying to get in their head and understanding why they are so obsessed by something that is not real. I mean, bro, it blows my mind. Bro, if you're a novice and you're not a fan, and we do a show on russosbrand.com every week called Castrating the Marks, and we hear clips from the dirt sheets. Bro, if you were not a wrestling fan and you listened to what we were listening to, you would believe that these people think this is real. You would believe that. And I think, bro, to a large extent, they have convinced themselves that wrestling is real. Somewhere along the lines, bro, they've convinced themselves of this. And that's why, bro, I would love to do some kind of a documentary where we just kind of get in the minds of the marks and like, why are you people so obsessed? Why, at what point did you start believing this were real? I definitely want to do that.
Cool. That'd be exciting. It'd be really exciting because it'd be quite an interesting insight.
Yeah.
Looking at the theme of like why it matters so much to people, and because there'll be emotional connections. Like,
yeah, bro, like I swear to God, like there are a lot of things I enjoy in my life and I have enjoyed over my life. Bro, I've never been obsessive like that. So like I can't understand it because I've never been obsessed with anything in my entire lifetime like some of these marks are. So I can't understand it. So I really do want to understand it, bro. So that's on my list of one thing I really want to accomplish.
Yeah, that's cool. I hope you do. It'd be good to see it. It's all because it's almost like right now there's that feeling of that you support a team again. Like obviously when you were working in the late 90s, it was that WWF, WCW, almost like which is your team that you're going on. And obviously a lot of people were watching both. And I think that's the same with now with AEW and WWE. I watch it all as much as I can. And there are some people that are on a team or on this team.
Yeah,
and that's what I find interesting. It's like, I'm a big soccer football fan and I've got my team, but it's like, so I know who I like and I don't like, and I wouldn't change my team. But for wrestling fans, is that interesting? Are you a fan of a wrestler or, or a team and the storyline?
And bro, that's another thing that is just, I do not understand, because if you're on team AEW, they do nothing wrong. Like they make no mistakes. They do nothing wrong. And I'm like, Bro, every sports team I am a fan of, bro, when they're playing like crap, I will say they're playing like crap. I won't make excuses for them. I won't try to sugarcoat anything. I will say you guys are playing like crap. So like, that's another thing I don't understand. It's like, no matter what that company does, oh my God, everything is 5 stars. And I don't get it, bro. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
No. Well, it's definitely got to be a documentary. You've got to make part of the. It's got to be part of the brand. It needs to be done. It needs to be done.
Yes.
I was going to ask you a couple of questions about other wrestlers, just out of interest, because I'm just curious. I've had the pleasure of obviously you mentioned Doug Williams earlier. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Doug and hopefully seeing him wrestle again soon because he's back wrestling in action. Jeff Jarrett, I had the huge pleasure of interviewing a few years ago about his work at the time. You've had a great connection with him for years and years and years, including a match with him and so on. What was it like working with him in the different companies over the years?
Well, bro, the one thing about Jeff, like, people don't understand this, man. It's like, I always get criticized for, when I went over to WCW and putting the title on Jeff and this and that. But see, here's what people don't understand, bro. There was a reason for that. And the reason was twofold. Number one, Jeff was a great worker and a great heel. And Jeff could get people over because he was a great worker and a great heel. Bro, also the thing about Jeff was, bro, no matter how many times he worked and how hard he worked, bro, he never got hurt. So you knew you could depend on Jeff. Like, if I put that belt on Jeff, I knew A, he's going to be a great heel, B, he's going to get the baby faces over, and C, I can count on him because he never got hurt. He was probably, bro, the most dependable, adorable wrestler. Bro, I remember I worked with Jeff many years, and I remember him getting hurt one single time. And that one time he got hurt, bro, was because Snuka did the dive off the top of the cage on Jeff and concussed Jeff. Bro, that was the only time in all the years I worked with him. And I worked with him from like 94 to 2012, almost 20 years. That was the only time Jeff Jarrett was ever hurt.
That's crazy. I was as I say, you can almost call me Marky Mart for the fact I was a big Jarrett fan when he took him over. He was the hottest heel in bro, when you've got a second generation wrestler like that, all of them, bro, it's in their bloodline. Like, they grew up on it. They just know what to do, man. That's why, like, the early booking of Roman Reigns, when Vince was writing every word from, I was sitting there saying, bro, this kid grew up in the business. It's in his blood. Just let him go. You don't need to write let him go. And it took years and years and years till finally. But bro, when you get those second generation wrestlers, they know what they're doing, bro. They know what they're doing. And Jeff was one of those guys. I've still got my Slapnuts t-shirt, and I've still got my Jeff Jarrett WCW action figure.
There you go.
I will get outside at some point. Like I say, I will. I promise. There you go. But yeah, I also was quite curious. Edge always speaks very highly of you. I was at an event a few years ago, and he spoke very highly about you, helping him at the early parts of his career in terms of, storylines and going on. I wondered what you thought about any stories, what it was like when you first worked with him, and what you noticed about him, and could you sense that he was going to be as good as he is?
Yeah, bro, but to a different extent, because, bro, the original plan for Edge, and I think Edge may get a little confused about this because this was going to evolve. But the original plan of Edge, bro, if you remember at the very beginning, we had a woman do the voiceovers and stuff like that. Bro, at the beginning, the concept of Edge was he was never going to talk. And it was almost like we didn't even know if he could talk. Was he going to be, was he a mute? Like the movie Tommy. You remember, Tommy, bro, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, but then he talks at the end of that was going to kind of be the character of Edge, and it was really to keep him mysterious. Like, be very, if you look at those early vignettes, he was very, very mysterious. And then, bro, over the years, obviously, you know, we would have, we would have progressed that storyline. But that's how we originally, or that's how I originally wrote the first inception of the character coming out of the gate. And then, you know, then, bro, you had that. Then you had the Brood with those three guys coming together and it being so cool. And then obviously he went on as a singles guy after I left to a great, great, great career. But no, bro, I knew that guy when I first worked with him, when I first met him, bro. I knew the guy was super, super talented, man.
Cool. Did anyone surprise you when that got over in sort of the Attitude Era? Was any of the ones you thought that wouldn't go as well as it did, or?
Bro, I got to be honest, and I always give a lot of credit to JR, okay, bro? Because JR put the roster together.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, if your name was on that roster, like JR did his homework. Like, so the tools were there. Like, if you were on that roster, you earned your place in the roster. So now it was just my job to help get these guys over to the best of my ability. But I say that, bro, because then when I went to TNA, bro, 50% of the guys should not have been on the roster. And I would tell Dixie, these guys are never going to get over because I could only do so much, but they need to have that it factor. You need the it factor. If they don't have the it factor, they're not going to get over. Like, I would be able to know if a guy was going to get over or not. Bro, I never worked with a JR roster where I would look at every name on that roster and say, you know, that person can never get. They all had the it factor, man. JR knew the it factor. He knew what to look for. So he really made my job very, very easy, bro.
That's cool. Well, that's why it all worked so well, though, didn't it? Because everyone was in the right position. Yep. Yourself
Absolutely,
and JR
bro.
and Johnson,
Yes.
and everything.
Yep.
And before social media and before mobile phones, so it just had that intricate secrecy still before everyone knew everything about it all. So you don't have to answer this question, but I'm quite curious because you mentioned earlier about Doug maybe being in your five. You might, if you were going to build a roster, who your five would be. I was a little bit curious if I could push you on whether there's any other names I could have out of that five that, if in theory you were going to build a roster.
Well, bro, I remember it was very important to me, bro. A couple of years ago, I remember having a conversation with him on the phone, and bro, I broke down. I kind of broke down, you know, crying, because it was very important for me to tell this person, like, out of everybody I work with, he was the best I ever worked with. And it meant a lot for me to tell this person that. And I don't know why I got so emotional about it, but bro, to this day, I work with great talents, but I say to this day, Shawn Michaels was the greatest talent I work with. And I'm talking about, bro, looking at every level of the job, every aspect of the job across the board. Shawn was the best. And bro, you got to understand, I worked with Shawn when, you know, he was going through a tough time. You know, he had his demons. So, bro, it was always a love and hate relationship between me and Shawn because I worked very, very closely with him. And, bro, quite honestly, there were days I did not know what Shawn Michaels was going to show up. But when it comes to, bro, looking at every aspect of being a professional wrestler, he was the best. I mean, he was absolutely the best. And I mean, I told him that, and it was important for me that I tell him that. I told him that because I wanted him to really know, because, you know, bro, you know, I worked with Austin and Rock and Taker. And I mean, I worked Flair and Hogan and all of the greats, but he was, bro, he was the best. I mean, I'll say to this day, he was the absolute best.
That's amazing. He was the guy that got me massively hooked. That whole,
you know,
that whole
I
96
understand it.
storyline and
I mean,
everything.
bro, you got to look at everything. You got to look at presentation. You got to look at the Jim Johnson music. You got to look at the costumes. You got to look at the wardrobe. I mean, I'm talking about every aspect of the game. I think he was the best. I do, bro. I think to me, he was the best.
Yeah. Well, you can tell the influence. We have a program over here. I don't know if you have a similar in America called Take Me Out. And it was where a random mystery guy would come down a lift, and there'd be like 20 or 30 women, and they could turn their light off if they liked the guy or not. And there'd be different rounds. One guy came out to the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels music. So all they're picking like rock bands or like a pop song or whatever. But a guy came out to Shawn Michaels, and I was just like, that's brilliant. Done. Yeah. And none of the girls knew who it was, but he came down with a pose and everything. I was like, yeah, fair play, mate. Well,
yeah.
Incredible. Well, I've got to obviously, time-wise, wrap it up. But I just one last question about your career, and then we'll do. We'll make sure we'll let everyone know how to follow the work and get in touch. Do you ever like, if you were, say you were being interviewed for writing a film script or something like that, and someone said to you like, okay, what's your highlights? What 2 or 3 storylines that if you're asking me to look at and think, oh, okay, that's the mark of what you're really happy with. Is there anything you ever think, oh, I'm really proud of that, or is it difficult for you to?
Nah, bro. To me, the best storyline written in the history of the business, and you'll never see storylines like this again. Bro, here's the reason why you'll never see storylines like this again. Ed Ferrara and myself were writers. We were writers. We were, I mean, bro, I wasn't Tony Khan, booking wrestling shows when I was 6. We were writers. We weren't former wrestlers booking matches. We were writers. That's what we did. Ed wrote television shows. Ed wrote movies. We were writers. And that's why, to me, bro, the story, if you back it up for 3 months, the story of Rock joining the corporation, you'll never, ever, ever get a story like that again. Because if you go back and watch 3 months prior, there were so many little hints and innuendos and nuances that led to that people did not see coming a mile away. And bro, it's funny because I'll never forget this. I was in the building that night. And bro, when Rock made that turn, I swear to you, bro, there were 20-something thousand people in that arena. You could hear a pin drop because people could not believe it. I mean, dead silence. And then, bro, if you backed it up, it's almost like Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense, where you get the finish and then they bring you through the whole movie. It's, holy shit. It was that same thing. If you back it up, bro, like, to me, one of my favorite stories was we were writing the last Raw before Rock's turn. Okay, so we really, really needed to do something to throw people off track, right? So, bro, we came up with the spot that Rock gives Vince the people's elbow. Okay, now, bro, the funny thing is, it's just me and Ed writing the script. Bro, the people's elbow had been built up like it was the equivalent of taking a shotgun and putting it to somebody's head. Like the people's elbow would kill you. That's the way it was put. So I remember me and Ed like, okay, bro, Vince, Rock's going to give Vince the people's elbow. And I remember saying, Ed, oh, Ed, the people's elbow, bro, are you sure? I mean, they're working together. They're on the same team. And bro, I'll never forget, Ed looked at me and said, Vince, it's an elbow. But that, you know what I'm saying, bro? He had built that so up that, oh my God, bro, there's no way they could be working together if Rock gives them the people's elbow. But bro, at the end of the day, it was an elbow. He was hitting Vince McMahon with an elbow. He wasn't killing him. He was dropping an elbow. So, Yeah, bro. You never, bro. You will never ever get anything like that with 20 writers. You know, rewriting the script. At the last minute. You'll never ever get anything like that again, bro. That was so well played out. And yeah, I mean, bro, I have no problem saying like I think that was an absolute masterpiece the way we put that thing together.
That's cool. I was always curious. That's all, to find out what you think about your career, because it's amazing. And I say the storylines, everything were great. I will put, obviously, when I put this on YouTube, I'll put all the links below for direct build to your social media and to the website. Is there anything in particular you wanted to flag up about it? Anything that's how people join?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'll tell you right now, like the wrestling aspect of it, which is, when are you going to be releasing this?
It'll probably be in the next, I'm going to edit it next week with a couple of others, so probably in about a week and a half or 2 weeks time.
Okay, yeah, but by then you should be able to go to russosbrand.com. We have a whole menu of shows on that, russosbrand.com. Then on Patreon, we have a whole menu of different shows, and that's patreon.com/Russo TWC. And then we're going to have, like I said, that brand new network. I don't want to give the name out yet, but by the time this comes out, you'll be able to see, and you'll be able to find everything through russosbrand.com.
Thank you for watching, everyone. This is Wrestling Wednesdays, and this is the bro himself, the former heavyweight WCW champion, Vince Russo. Thank you very much for your time, Vince.
Thank you, Martin. I really appreciate it, man. Yo, this is Vince Russo, bro, and I want you to catch Wrestling Wednesdays with the great Martin Watchhorn. Don't miss it, bro.